Sorry. Technical problem. Good morning. Thank you. My name is Debbie Rehart, using she and her pronouns, and I look forward to sharing leadership of today's service with Reverend Bran. Whoever you are, wherever you live, whomever you love, whatever you do for a living, you're welcome at the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. We invite you to join us for coffee hour following the service, either downstairs in the common room or on Zoom. I invite you to take this moment to hold our space here as sacred by silencing your electronic devices and preparing yourself to be present, online or in person. We're grateful for this time together.
To bring ourselves here to this sanctuary today to gather as a community of faith. We join together in solidarity as a covenanted people who are drawn together by the promise of connection and the mysterious pull of the unanswerable. As seekers, wanderers, appreciators of nature, and creators of connection, our paths have converged today so that we might become present to the spirit that is worship. And so let us worship together. Each week it is our tradition to light a chalice, which casts a circle of light to hold us all. As we create anew this symbol of our shared faith, let's reflect on these words by Francis Coziar. We light this chalice today as a people dedicated to personal growth. May it burn away the oppressions we have been taught and glow instead with the humility of learning. May it reignite our dreams for a better world and kindle our joy for simple living. May its warmth extend out into the forgotten alleyways of exclusion and bring us home to love, to welcoming, and to all the challenges, the questions, and the blessings of this beautiful path to becoming a beloved community.
very much in love with waltzes lately, mostly because there's a gentleman called Alan Watts. I'm sure some of you have heard of him. And if I remember correctly, I'll probably misquote him, but he talks about waltzes in the idea that life is a dance. And what's more dancey than a waltz? This is a waltz that I wrote when I was a kid. Waging a war that seems endless, you might think it's against the enemy, but if you look a little closer, you will see faces and names that we remember, now all but lost to time and memory. Do people's lives have a purpose? We shall see. It was on the beat. La da 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 da. There is a happening elsewhere. People are dying across a silent sea. Do we have time for their always? We will see them. Time after time it is written, never again shall we cross the walls of war, but humans are prone to addictions. Will they see? La da 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 da. Outside this place just tomorrow, an echo of others, some different than you, somebody's sister or brother, asking you, what will you do? There is a place I remember, quiet and small before eternity. Who will come join me in silence? I can see.
Worship, as in life, there is an appropriate amount of fire, and then there is too much fire. I am going to restore us to an appropriate level of fire. Thank you, Sebastian. That was glorious.
affirm our mission to encourage, equip, and empower, and we ask that you join in the affirmation of our covenant with one another. Love is the spirit
of this congregation,
and service is our gift.
This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Okay, this is new to me. The answer is in your hands. This story has been adapted from an Indian folk tale. There once was a wise woman who lived by herself near a small village. Rumor had it that she could always accurately predict when the rains would come, or help a sick child with herbs, or calm angry neighbors and help them to resolve their fights and arguments. People came from all over the land to meet with her and to seek her advice on matters both small and great. Her reputation was such that she said that everything that she said was never wrong. Can you imagine? Not ever. Some of the children of the village didn't believe that it was possible to always be right. Surely she could not know everything. They decided to test her knowledge. First, they asked her to ask questions about the planets, the animals, and the world. No matter how hard the questions, she always answered them correctly. The children were amazed at her knowledge, and most were ready to stop testing the wise woman. However, one child was determined to prove that the old woman couldn't know everything. Hatching a devious scheme, the child told all of their friends to meet them at the woman's home the following afternoon so that they could prove that she was a faker. All through the next day, he hunted for a bird. Finally, he caught a small songbird in a net. Holding it behind their back so no one could see what was in their hands, he walked triumphantly to the woman's house. "Old woman," they called, "come and show us how wise you are." The woman walked calmly to the door. "May I help you?" she simply asked. "You said you know everything. Prove it. What am I holding behind my back?" the young child demanded. The old woman thought for a moment. She could make out the faint songs of the bird's wings rustling. "I do not know everything, for that would be impossible," she replied. "However, I do believe that you're holding a bird in your hands." Oh, the child was furious. How could the woman have possibly known that there was a bird? Thinking quickly, they came up with a new scheme. The child would ask the woman whether the bird was alive or dead. If the woman replied alive, they would crush it with their hands and prove her wrong. If she answered dead, on the other hand, they would pull the living bird from behind their back and allow it to fly away. Either way, they would prove their point, and the wise woman would be discredited. "Very good," they called. "It is a bird. But tell me, is the bird I am holding alive or dead?" The wise woman paused for a long moment while the child waited with anticipation for their opportunity to prove her wrong. Again, the woman spoke calmly. "The answer, my friend, is in your hands. The answer is in your hands." The child realized that the wise woman had once again spoken correctly and truthfully. The answer was indeed in their own hands. Feeling the bird feebly moving in their hands as it tried to escape their grasp, the child felt suddenly very ashamed. The answer was in their hands. Slowly and gently, The child brought their hands in front of their body, looking into the eyes of the delicate bird. They apologized. "I am sorry, little one." And they opened their hands and let the bird fly home.
This poem is entitled "The Peace of Wild Things" by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in the beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
As many of you are aware, last summer the General Assembly of Unitarian Universalists voted in favor of adopting a set of 6 Unitarian Universalist shared values within Article 2 of our association's bylaws. Positioned with love at the center, these values are often represented in fun graphics like this one. These values are an actions-based framing of who we want to be in the world. And since we're really still just starting to internalize them, I'll invite you to read them with me, moving clockwise around the image, starting with generosity. Ready? Generosity, transformation, equity, pluralism, interdependence, and justice. As you can probably imagine, if you've ever met a UU, much less done committee work with one, the process of adopting this framework was extremely democratic, which is to say, long, convoluted, and engulfed in unending fiery debate. I consider it a miracle that we found our way through it. It seemed for a while like every individual Unitarian Universalist had their own unique term they wanted removed from, or more likely added to, this set. And the unrepresented term with the biggest support base was, any guesses? Peace. That's right. So why was peace not included in the final version? Well, it's a complicated question to answer, but in a nutshell, it's because peace is not such a straightforward value. Peace means different things to different people in different contexts. And dictionary.com lists 12 definitions of the word, and I promise I'm not going to read them to you, but they range from the opposite of war to a state of inner tranquility to apparently a 5th century comedy written by Aristophanes. What's most relevant to us is what happens to these definitions when we consider them in light of differing motivations and power dynamics. For those who benefit from our current systems of power, peace means maintaining the status quo. And for everyone else, there is no end to violence without major change. And major change doesn't happen quietly. In a story which has been all over the news lately, the CEO of United Healthcare was assassinated, ostensibly due to his company's sky-high denial rate for life-saving procedures and the exorbitant profits these decisions were bringing to said CEO. And I'm certainly not here to comment publicly on the controversy surrounding this case or its proceedings, and just to avoid ending up on a list somewhere, let me explicitly say that I am not encouraging or suggesting that anyone follow in the footsteps of the assassin. Got that? Okay, but I think there's something meaningful in the public response to this event, which has been to observe that without raising a weapon, this CEO was responsible for the deaths of thousands upon thousands of people. There are two killers in this story. One who did his crimes in a peaceful and socially sanctioned way, and one who was, by a single act of unforgivable violence, he united American citizens across the political spectrum in their anger at the injustice of our healthcare system. Peace is not simple. And for someone who is so driven towards compassion and bringing people into right relationship with one another that I joined the clergy, the following admission might shock you. I don't consider myself to be a pacifist. I did once. But it was more out of naivety in my case than any well-tempered conviction. As a child, I was raised to believe in turning the other cheek, and I truly internalized the valorization of suffering for others. As I grew up and started unlearning some of the more harmful traits of my Catholic upbringing, I discovered that martyrdom is not actually desirable or helpful in most circumstances. In fact, by never defending myself, I was hurting the people who loved me and wanted me to be well and whole. I was giving power to those who didn't deserve it. By standing up for myself, I began to learn how to stand up for those who needed the benefit of my privilege. Let me be clear that I have respect and admiration for those who developed the pacifist movement of the 1960s and 70s. That pacifism was born of a strong and countercultural refusal to be used as weapons in an unjust war. This was the time and place to rally behind peace, to struggle against oppressive power structures. But as my understanding of the world has grown, I've discovered that we can't rely on one single tool to apply to every situation. Pacifism isn't always the right tool for the job. What radicalized me was probably learning about the ways that my Irish ancestors were brutalized by the English occupation. When I began to understand what was taken from them and how the slightest resistance was met with utter dehumanization, I realized that I would probably fight back too. At a certain point, what more is there to lose? Telling my Irish ancestors to turn the other cheek would only have served to reinforce the unjust power of their oppressors. It was this recognition that gave rise to my first quarrel with mainstream Buddhism. The principle of ahimsa, non-harming, was always presented to me as a complete dedication to pacifism. I couldn't quite get on board. And this is why I was so moved when I first read Lama Rod Owen's book, Love and Rage, The Path of Liberation Through Anger. A queer Black Buddhist Lama, Rod Owens was able to frame these issues in a way that squared with the call to resist systemic injustice. Now here's the section that first leapt out at me. In conversation with another teacher, he says this: "I'm not a 100% believer in nonviolence." Oh my gosh, don't you love peace, though? I love all kinds of peace. I love peace. But peace can be used to bypass the work. Here's the basic struggle. Sometimes I have to realize that I'm not capable of allowing my body to be used as a vehicle to absorb physical violence. I have these images in my head of footage from the civil rights movement where Black bodies are being bitten by dogs, sprayed with fire hoses, and people are being physically assaulted by bystanders and cops. And those images are very strong in my mind, especially of people balled up and allowing themselves to receive physical violence as a strategy of nonviolence advocated by Dr. King. And I can't say that I consent right now to that positionality of Black bodies and lives. So if my life is in danger, if I'm being threatened with violence, more than likely I will react to protect myself and protect others around me from physical violence. And I wonder if I can do that out of a place of love. I think it's possible. I think that we can actually come from a place of saying, yes, I need to be happy and safe, and I want you to be happy and safe, but you are out of control, and now I actually have to use physicality to limit the damage that you are doing to my body. And that's where I come from. And I think that that's why we're seeing such a rise in self-defense classes, for example. Samsara isn't black and white. It's extremely complex and nuanced. I think that when we're in Dharma communities, they are telling you, oh, well, anger, there's never a place for that, and violence, there's never a place for violence. That's not actually taking into account the very real and different realities that different bodies are living. There's a point of anger being triggered for me when I think, how dare people tell me how to survive when they have no idea what it means on a relative level to inhabit this particular body? I think Lama Rod is so wise here. And it reminds me of another important principle of resistance to oppression, remembering that we need many different strategies, approaches, and roles. There isn't one right path. The civil rights movement needed both the nonviolent protesters and the more actively disruptive groups. Even within the nonviolent protest movement, some folks chose a path which looked like setting an example of impeccable decency, and some folks chose a path which involved making life tremendously inconvenient for those with power and privilege. Businesses lost real revenue. People were held up and made late for things. Children and families were exposed to harsh, uncomfortable truths. And I'm begging you to remember this, and perhaps check whether your hand has flown to your pearls next time the media tells you that protest-related minor property damage and income loss are roughly equal to the violence being protested. A lot of white UUs fell for that line in 2020. Many paths and approaches are necessary in the struggle for liberation. While I have neither the temperament for defensive fighting nor the physical fortitude to enact civil disobedience, I will be helping organize and strategize, and I will offer guidance and support for those who are ready to go out and make life inconvenient for people in power. Your energy, and effort will also be needed in your own special way, within your own ethical bounds. The truth about peace at its best is that it can be either a means, or it can be an end. As a means, it's something that as a means, it is sometimes, but not always the tool that we need. And we need to be ready to set it down when the moment calls for disruption. As an end, it is a beautiful concept. Tranquility, serenity, freedom from agitation. But as a goal we work towards, it belongs right alongside liberation. And as we say, none of us is free until we all are. There is no real peace unless everyone has access to it freely. So there will be no peace until we put an end to injustice. It's going to take courage, as it always does, to stay in the struggle in the days ahead. And as always, we have strength here in our diversity, our multiplicity, in our disagreements, and in our compassion for one another. Our shared values center around love. So let's invite each other deeper into the bold kind of love that says, I will disturb the peace for you. Let there be peace in our hearts and fierceness in our actions. Together with communities all around the world who believe in the inherent worth of all people, we will keep striving for collective liberation, and we will not allow our virtues to be weaponized against us by those who wish to continue hoarding power. May it be so. When a member of our beloved community has died, we light a special candle in their honor. And yesterday morning, Karen Edwards passed away after a long hospice journey. Karen has deep roots in this congregation. She was an incredibly strong person, a free thinker who is remembered as an avid karaoke singer and a motorcycle aficionado. She is survived by her husband, Bill, who remained steadfast by her side until the end, by her daughter, Kelly, and by her dear friend, Caroline Park. With love in our hearts for Karen, her family, and all those who grieve today, I light this candle of remembrance. Now is the time when we engage as a community in the sharing of our joys and sorrows, our concerns and milestones. When we join together to hold each other in support and in celebration, we deepen our sense of interrelationship. We may find our sorrows eased and our joys magnified. I invite you to share them now through writing them on a slip or typing them in the virtual chat. Please indicate whether your message is okay to share out loud. You can also honor whatever you're holding in your heart by placing a stone into the water of community up at the front here. Please come down the center aisle, returning to your seats by the side aisles. Spoken or unspoken, our hearts join with yours in carrying all that life brings. place a final stone this morning in honor of all of those who are not here with us in this room, but everyone around the world who is carrying joys, sorrows, griefs, new beginnings, everywhere in the world today. Suzanne shares with us, loss is hard. Barbara Byrne shares that Denny and her sister-in-law Cindy died on Wednesday. She was a treasured member of our family. Tom Winner offers, I am having difficulty navigating the role of caregiver in an Alzheimer's dementia patient and trying to help other caregivers. My anxiety level has been challenged by loss and pending loss of friends and loved ones. Please be patient with my tangled emotions. From Lois Voigt, Barb Hoskins is now in hospice care in her apartment at Ecumenical. For all of these and those concerns we carry deep in our hearts and yet remain unspoken, we journey with each other in love. I invite you to join me now in the spirit of meditation. This practice was adapted from the work of Lama Rod Owens, whose words we heard earlier. Begin by asking your body what it needs right now. Take a few moments to listen. Allow it to respond and adjust. Find a posture that aids you in the work of minimizing distraction, minimizing inner noise. Perhaps soften your focus or close your eyes. Find a centering position for your hands, some grounding with your feet. And remember that your body is unique and carries unique narratives, different pains, different histories than the bodies of those around you. So listen to those needs. And prepare yourself to go only where you feel ready to go. Bring your attention to the pressure of your body on the seat beneath you. Feel yourself held by that surface. Notice your breath and feel it come and go a little more freely than it did just a moment ago. We're going to turn our awareness inward. And as you begin to explore that inner awareness, especially as we begin to offer certain questions to ourselves, lean into the breath-like rhythm of taking ideas in and then just letting them go. Whatever arises, you can see it, name it, experience it, and let it float on. turn your attention now to the experience of anger. And this may feel complex for you, so remember, at any point you can reground either in the awareness of your breath or the solid ground beneath you. Think of a time when you were angry. Any instance at all that comes to mind. Notice what's happening in your mind right now. What kind of thoughts are you having? Are there narratives about hurt and blame? About being wronged? Do you sense frustration? Do you feel helpless? Do you feel powerful? Is this experience pleasant or unpleasant? Continuing to think about this memory of anger, turn your attention to your body. Where do you feel sensation in your body connected with this anger? Can you relax around the sensation rather than pushing it away? Can you experience it instead of thinking about it? The unexpected comes and we let it be. Take another moment to relax around that feeling of anger. And then begin to turn your attention again to the breath or to the ground beneath you, if that's more comfortable. Before we return to the present moment, take this time to offer silent thanks to yourself and to those who've been around you in this room exploring these questions with you. Bring a little movement into your fingers now, a little movement into your toes. Shrug your shoulders up and down, open your eyes. And because anger is such a clingy feeling, I'll also invite you to shake your hands out with me. Maybe shake your face out a little bit. Just let yourself be here. And we'll end with a moment of silent gratitude for one another. Thank you.
The Unitarian Church of Harrisburg is, as always, an intentionally gathered congregation of freely thinking people. The church is created, sustained, and supported by us. Each month, we share half of our Sunday plate with a local nonprofit organization. For the month of January, we are sharing with CWS Harrisburg. CWS Harrisburg supports refugees as they resettle, integrate, and thrive by offering programs and projects that encourage self-sufficiency. They are the largest resettlement agency in central Pennsylvania. CWS Harrisburg provides special services to refugees within a 100-mile radius of Harrisburg, and in their most recent fiscal year, they served 935 legally arriving refugees from 15 countries. If you wish to contribute online, visit uchbg.org and scroll to the bottom of the page for options. Your financial support and commitment matter. Please consider giving what you are able.
We dedicate these gifts to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of compassion and action, faith and fellowship, hope and wholeness.
Let Us Learn Peace by Annie Forster. Peace is more than the absence of worry. It is the creation of safe havens for all. It is the building of security for everyone. It is the forgiveness of self, as well as one who would harm you. Let us seek contentment. Let us learn peace. Peace is more than the absence of discordance. It is the intent, listening to diverse points of view. It is the intentional speaking of all voices, one at a time. It is the tension within silence that welcomes all thoughts. Let us seek harmony. Let us learn peace. Peace is more than the absence of tension. It is studying the hard lesson of letting go. It is breathing through pain into tranquility. It is forming friendship out of enmity. Let us seek serenity. Let us learn peace. Peace is much more than the absence of war. It is observing the promised truce when anger would say, no. It is finding the just compromise when ego would say, my way. It is striving for reconciliation when the heart would say, revenge. Let us seek amity for all the earth. Let us learn peace.
All
These benediction words come from the Reverend Rebecca Savage. As we end our time together today in spiritual community, may we depart this sacred space knowing that blessings shall follow us all the days of our lives if we live in and return to right relationships, if we extend grace and forgiveness to ourselves and others, if we behold mercy as a spiritual superpower, if we emanate the greater love that holds us close. May our lives radiate the blessings that we have been given. May kindness and compassion fall gently from us. May there be peace in the world, and may it begin again with us.
Amen.